you so much for reflecting on your journey with me and our coaching work. And I'm so, so excited to hear all about where you are, what you're up to, the impact of our work together, and all of the magic that you've been doing since.
So much magic.
So much magic. And when I always think back to our relationship, I always think about how aligned it was, how aligned we
Mm.
are. So I'm so, so excited to talk about the impacts today. So thank you, first of all, for
No,
saying.
thank you for having me back. It's really good to see you again.
So do you want to share a little bit about you and just say hi, first of all?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Nick, and I suppose a bit about me. I feel like I'm a completely different person now than what I was when I first came to you. But I suppose what I was struggling with was comparison, like falling into that comparison trap loads, comparing myself with everyone. I suppose being single was quite a big thing because I was comparing myself to like people who were settling down, but I suppose comparison in friendships and all of that kind of stuff that comes with it, falling into that trap. And we did our work together, which I'm sure we'll go into in a bit. And then I suppose since then, I've trained to be a coach because I think our work together started me on my wellness and self-development journey. And I suppose it just kind of spiraled from there. And then I have trained to become a coach, and now I'm an empowerment coach for single women. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. So when you think back then, you touched on it a little bit because we were talking about comparisonitis, but just
Yeah.
trying to think back to when we first met. So I know that is a long time ago now, and
Hmm.
who you are and your identity has completely shifted through the work we've done and then your development journey since.
Yeah.
But if you can cast your mind back to before we even met, before you even reached out, kind of what was going on for you then, if you can paint a little bit of a picture.
I was thinking about this earlier actually, because I think when I was sort of just before I reached out to you, I was in a relationship which, looking back, like I was very much making it fit in terms of because I wanted that happily ever after that sort of everyone else seemed to have. And, I was putting up with things that I definitely would not put up with now. And then I ended that relationship. I think I just felt really lost. Like I say, I was comparing myself to all my friends who were settled down, like trying to force something that actually wasn't right. But I think I put up with that for so long. I wasn't listening to my intuition, which was a massive thing for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just felt lost and stuck. And I think, you know, biological clock and all that kind of thing that was coming up for me, there was a lot of anxiety around that and worry and generally just feeling lost. So I think that's when I found you. And I think it must have been a post that I saw on Instagram that just spoke to me, but I think it was mainly the comparison trap because although I was comparing myself to like friends who will settle down and stuff. It wasn't just in relationships and relationship status, it was everything. Like, I'd go
Mm.
out and I'd be like, oh, like outfits and things like that. And then being in a social situation and like, why they're not talking to me when they're talking to her. Like, all of that, it was just so much like overthinking. And I suppose initially, what led me to you was the breakup, but actually, there was so much more going on that I was going to social situations and coming away feeling like rubbish, and then that was making me want to distance myself more. But then actually, it was the stories I was telling myself in my head. It wasn't anything wrong. Well, the sort of was, but you know what I mean. It was something like the bigger issue going on. So yeah, looking back, just overthinking, comparison, feeling stuck, feeling lost, and yeah, I think I just needed some direction, really.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing so openly and honestly. I'm really grateful that you would. So there was that huge comparisonitis then, that's what we coined it, that
Mm.
comparisonitis in each area of
Yeah.
your life, like that overthinking mind, anxiety, stress, that internal like
Mm.
chatter, like I'm not good enough, and that kind of stuckness and lostness. What was the impact of that on you? Kind of like what was the cost of that happening?
So I think it was just making me feel like I was the problem, like I wasn't good enough, and it was ruining social interactions. So I'd go out with friends, and I didn't realize the impact of this until after. It
Mm.
was ruining social occasions, and I was so on my head and not in the moment and not like being present. I was robbing myself of joy, I suppose, as sad as that sounds. But yeah, I feel like a completely different person now. I'm an introvert and I always used to think that was a bad thing, but then now I've just come to learn to accept it. And there's so much amazingness about being an introvert as well. But at the time, I was like questioning everything about that.
Yeah. And then circling back to what you were saying there, it was kind of like the impact of all of that with them was just like robbing your joy,
Mm,
ruining life, causing that kind of like you were there physically but not mentally in social
yeah.
situations. And then if we shimmy forward a little bit then and you think about reaching out. So what was that experience like, if you can remember? What was that like to do and think about those first interactions we had together?
I'd never heard of anything like coaching before. I don't think I followed any coaches at the time or anything like that. And then something just told me that I needed to reach out, and I did, trusting my intuition. Yeah. And then I think we got on a call, didn't we? I think it was the first touch point. And I just remember thinking, like, I just feel like a weight lifted. I just remember it being such a release. And
Wow.
it was only that initial call. But I remember just feeling and reeling things off that I didn't really realize was bothering me as much as they were. But I specifically remember that first call just being like a massive release and weight had lifted. And I was like, I need to do this. This is something I needed to do. So there's no question whether I was going to continue. I had to do it, sort of thing. And I think
Wow.
it is really important, isn't it, to have that connection with, the fit has got to be right, hasn't it? For me, it completely was with you. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And vice versa. If you were talking to me about the fit was right for you, the fit was right for me too. And I spoke at the beginning about how aligned we were. And I'm so grateful that you trusted me and you trusted your intuition more though. You
Yeah.
trusted your intuition and you trusted me. Yeah. And how powerful then that first touch point was, that first connection call of
Yeah,
that
massively.
release. And why do you think that was?
I think because I felt like I was voicing things that I was worried about saying. And then when I voiced them to you, you weren't shocked. It was just like, you just got it. There was just no judgment. And there's quite a lot of power in that, I think, when you voice things to someone and
Mm,
you just feel like it's valid, don't you? Because, so no one's shocked. It's quite normal to feel like that as well. It was just that, like, I can't put it into words, but just feeling seen, I guess. That is
yes.
how I'd say I left that call.
Feeling seen, feeling understood, feeling like
Yeah.
someone got it, feeling like you weren't going mad.
Yeah.
And then before we move forward, you were talking about the right fit. So what was it that you saw in me or experienced in me that felt like that was a fit for you?
But it's difficult to put into words, really. I think it's just your energy and like aura. I think
Yeah.
you just sort of have got this way, it's very calm, and you've just got this way of allowing people, well, allowing me anyway, to open up without judgment. Really know what else. It's just an energy that I can't really pinpoint. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I love that, like that energy and that aura that you were drawn to. And I also heard you say something about like calm there.
It's a queen of calm.
Thank you. Yeah, but that's so lovely to hear that you felt seen, held, supported, understood. Like you weren't alone in that anymore, I guess, and how
Yeah.
powerful that was. And then when we started working together, then how was that? Big question, I know, but what goes to your mind first of all?
I think the power of the WhatsApp coaching in between was like, obviously the sessions were absolutely incredible. But I think the power of the WhatsApp and having that ability to voice, because I remember just having insane wobbles and blotting everything out onto WhatsApp. And the power in just doing that is incredible. Like just getting it out, but like your responses were always so like considered and thorough and just so insightful. I love learning about myself anyway, how we're made up and the theories behind it and all that kind of stuff. That was really insightful and I loved that. And yeah, you've just had a way of just calming me down and making me see things in different ways and see things clearer. Just having that constant like touch point, but not in a way that I felt like I was reliant, because I think that's quite important, isn't it? So there was still sort of a good, I want to say boundary, but I was reliant on it, but it was there if I needed it.
What I'm really hearing there is how powerful the calls were that we had, but also an additional powerful aspect then was the WhatsApp coaching in between. So
Yeah,
not only,
absolutely.
yeah, powerful for you to have a space where you could just wobble or whinge, whatever was going on in that day. But then you said you found my replies considered, insightful, thoughtful, knowledgeable, helping you learn and grow, and how
Yeah.
much that gave you. Wow.
Absolutely incredible. And also about the calls as well. Like sometimes I would come to that call thinking, I've got no idea what I'm going to talk about today because I feel fine. Like by the end of
Yeah.
it, oh my goodness. But it's just the power, isn't it, of asking the right questions and feeling, being in the right space. And it's a subconscious, isn't it? So there's obviously a lot going on that we don't realize until you start talking to the right people in the right spaces and digging a bit deeper. So yeah, that's very powerful.
Amazing. So, were there any other valuable aspects when you think back to our partnership? What else felt?
I think the document that we did, I think you get us to fill out. I think there was one at the beginning and one in the middle, one at the end. I think that was really useful because for me, I like to see things, I like to read back through things. So to have that sort of document to read back over sessions, and I think there was one document where I listed all the different tools that I'd
Yes.
learned, like fact over opinion or looking at something through a new lens or something like that. And I don't, it's just how my brain works. I like to have like listed them out so I can like, right, I can go back to this one. And that was really useful. I think that's powerful because sometimes you'll come away from calls and like, especially me, my memory is terrible. So to fall back on that was really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And we work really aligned in that way. I love
Mm.
a system and a structure and
Yeah,
a process, but also the other side, which is the flowing and we go where we need to in session.
absolutely.
As we were just saying, like things can resurface, but we, curiously look at them
Mm.
together courageously. But having that additional framework then, so you could review where you were at the beginning, where you were midway
Yeah,
through, where you were at the end. Yeah, and recognize the changes and shifts that you made. Amazing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were some of the most powerful changes then and shifts that you made?
In terms of the outcome or the actual tools that we like used,
Both.
I think the fact over thought, something like that has stuck with me. That is so simple, but it's so true, isn't it? Like we have
Yeah.
these thoughts. Like I literally remember having a wobble. I can't remember what it was about, but like literally listing in a different colour, like we discussed the facts and the thoughts
Yeah.
and the opinions. And that's so simple, but it's so powerful. And it's something that I still use now and work on with my one-to-ones as well. But it's just such an easy one to come back to, isn't it? Fact over, come back to the facts because we just don't do it, do we?
No. I remember how powerful that was and that kind of like
Mm,
light bulb moment of like, oh my goodness, we're not
yeah,
the thoughts we think. We can have control over them. Yeah.
yeah.
Then if we shift our mind to like the outcome for you then. So, well, yes, I can hear the tools and strategies were personalized to you and so
Mm,
helpful. But let's think about kind of like the impact on you and who you became through the work together.
yeah. I've just become a lot more calmer. Like, I think back to those wobbles that I used to have. I just don't have those anymore. And like, obviously, this is like, it's not confidence and calmness isn't like an end goal, is it? It's like continuous.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, there's ups and downs, but I navigate through those so much quicker now. Like, I recognize if it's just myself spiraling, and then I do something about it, and I don't let myself go there. I mean, obviously, sometimes you have to sit with these things, don't you? And understand where they're coming from. But I'm just so much calmer and just let things happen rather than like worrying about things and overthinking and yeah, just I suppose a lot more content and at peace, I think, and like more aligned with where I'm going and like trusting my path. That was a big thing for us, I think, at the time. Like trusting that I'm exactly where I need to be. So yeah, I think it's all of those lovely things. Completely different than what I was when I showed up on that first call, I think.
Wow. And they are huge things to hear
Mm,
you say that kind of complete 360 to go from what we were saying at the beginning, overthinking and lost and stuck in
mm,
comparisonitis and full of worry and anxiety to say naturally calm and more confident, that feeling empowered with, yes, we will have those doubts because we're human, but
yeah,
it's the,
exactly.
the empowered choices that you make to navigate through them.
Mm.
It's making me think about that inner self-trust and that kind of trust in your path and kind of that empowerment.
And I think with the self-trust, I think it allows you to see more opportunities. So like, the fact that like an advert popped up to become a coach. Like I'd never thought about it until then. And then I sat with it for a little bit and I was like, I really thought about it loads. It's something that I just couldn't stop thinking about then. But I would never have been able to sort of go make a career redirection and do something new and trust my intuition if I hadn't have done all that work on myself. Like I really had to trust where I was going. So there's a reason why I'm drawn to it. So like that self-trust, I think's really important because it helps you to recognize opportunities, helps you to like move outside your comfort zone and do new things.
Yeah, and what I think I'm hearing there is something about how our work together helped you build that like inner self-assurance. Is
Definitely. I mean, before I would have been full of doubt, like, what if it all goes wrong? What if I can't do it? What if it's the wrong path?
yeah, absolutely. So something there about it giving you that inner confidence, that inner self-assurity. And I know I want to really touch my stomach and like
Yeah,
womb rather than heart, because
yeah,
like
yeah,
that deep inner knowing. And I know that was a big thing for us, kind of like
yeah,
getting out of your head where we overthink and back into your sense of who you are, that
yeah,
self-trust and building that self-belief.
absolutely. And that inner knowing is there was a point where I was considering, I mean, this is quite a lot to share on here, but I'm going to share it anyway. I was considering, I think we spoke about this actually at the time, freezing my eggs because I was obviously coming up to an age where I
Yeah.
had to start thinking about it. And I was doing all my research and it just didn't feel right. The costs involved didn't feel right. I just wasn't on board with it at all. But I was feeling the pull to do it because of my age. In hindsight, that was thinking about the path that I should be going down rather than the path that I want to go down. The idea of spending that kind of money just didn't sit right with me at all. And then the coaching course came up and I found the money just like that. My decision was that's what I'm doing. To be able to trust my instincts on such a big decision, like, is massive for me. So that kind of felt like a real pivotal point of trusting my intuition.
Thank you for sharing. I do remember we spoke about that at the time and how you'd come back to your inner self and that inner knowing and that self-trust and laying those foundations that we did through our work to then allow you to make that decision. So
Which is not like me because I always used to doubt myself and my decisions.
this is you. That
Yeah,
was like the past version of you before we
yeah,
met. So actually to have that real powerful example and link that back to the work that we did,
yeah,
which is, yes, this is you through the work that we did about self-trust and self-belief
yeah,
and feeling self-assured and having kind of the inside match the outside.
yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Any other impacts or tangible results or anything else that you think actually,
Um,
yeah, this is what I'd achieved through our work together?
I think we've covered a lot of it really. I suppose the other thing that I would say is it's like a continuous journey, isn't it? Like it's not like an overnight thing. And I think you have to keep coming back to this stuff all time and time again. Because, still have the wobbles, but you just navigate them so differently. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's just a
Yeah,
point that came to my head.
yeah, it does answer the question. There's something about lives. Like I always
Mm,
say, it's, beautiful, beautiful and brutal. But what I also hear is you have a toolkit that we developed
mm,
that helps you navigate the brutalness of life. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
What I really hear is then we've got that refined toolkit
Yeah,
that we built and
definitely.
has stayed and that helps you navigate life. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Anything else that's on your heart and your mind that you want to share?
Gratitude is a big one because I know that we did quite a lot of that in terms of like coming back to what you're grateful for instead of like focusing on what you're not. And I think that for me has changed my whole thought process because I now see so much of what I am grateful for. What you focus on grows, doesn't it? So if you're focusing on what you haven't got, which is what I was doing, you see so much of that. But whereas now I just, you know, I go out in the morning and all I can hear is like the birds singing rather than what's in my head. Such a powerful shift.
Yeah, such a powerful shift. And actually, you're training your mind to see those things.
Mm,
And now that's become a part of your everyday. You go out within and you see the birds and still green the
yeah,
grass is, blue the sky is. And you're like,
so
oh
much.
my
Yeah,
gosh, this is my
completely
life.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Which is
incredible.
yeah. And that is a huge shift. The fact that you can
Yeah,
get up with positivity in the morning.
absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So what does life look like now then? Do you want to share a bit more?
So I've obviously trained now to become a coach myself. So I'm helping single women. And that was a big shift as well because at first, like I knew I wanted to do like confidence coaching because that's something that I'd had and I saw like the benefit and the powerfulness of it. And then I've just kind of like found myself wanting to help being single and all of those things that come with it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I'm also still a lawyer full time. And also with work as well, like I'm showing up as myself rather than feeling like I should be this corporate person that I've imagined in my head. Like I say the things I want to say. I don't really worry about how I show up. I just show up as me. So that's quite a big shift as well. And yeah, I'm so into wellness now. Like I do a lot of yoga and my time is spent doing lots of different things than I used to. So I suppose I don't really go out drinking anymore. Well, I do now and again, but it's few and far between. I think as you
Yeah.
get older, you sort of do less of that. But I'm just filling my time with stuff that fills my cup rather than filling everyone else's, really. Thinking about myself, boundaries in place. Yeah, I feel like I'm very lucky to be living the life I'm living, really.
Yeah, so many things you've said, and which is incredible. And then, as you were saying, then, this ability to just be you, circles back to everything that we're saying so far today about this alignment. And I know that was a big part of the work, kind of letting go
Yeah,
of this comparisonitis and just being you. And to hear you saying that, like, you're showing up in the workplace now as just you, not fitting like the corporate mold, you just be Nick as Nick appears.
yeah. It feels like such a relief. Like, why do we try and be someone that we're not when you could just be you and it's just
Yeah.
easy?
Yeah. And then you also said saying what you want, speaking up,
Mhm.
not censoring yourself anymore, using your voice.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. And I think
huge.
when you start doing that as well, you find that like the right people are drawn to you. I find that my relationships, my friendships are so much easier because I'm in a better place and I'm not overthinking, I'm not comparing, and yeah, it just feels lighter.
Yeah. And that's the power of this work, the ripple effect then onto your relationships, your friendship,
Yeah,
the connection that you can build because the more you are, the more connected you can then be
absolutely.
with others. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also you said filling your life with joy. So not
Mhm.
having that FOMO anymore, having that like
Yeah,
joy of like filling
yeah,
your own cup and doing things that you love to do.
absolutely.
Yeah. And then you said, which needs absolutely celebrating, and you said you were so proud of you, and I'm so proud of you. Your own coaching, your own kind of
Yeah,
specialism, empowering single women who were like you once upon a time, empowering them to know that they're enough.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, such a shift, yeah. And also a huge growth point, massive growth point. Yeah. How are you feeling hearing me say that back?
I feel very reflective. I feel a bit overwhelmed, to be honest, thinking about it, because I'm so grateful that I took the plunge in investing in myself. Because we don't do it enough, do we? And we put up with these things. And if I hadn't invested in myself, where would I be now? I think I'd be on a totally different path. So, yeah, I'd say to anyone who's questioning investing in yourself, there's nothing better to invest in than yourself.
Absolutely. So powerful. And those two pivotal moments, I guess, the investment of our work together and the
Yeah,
investment of your coaching future.
absolutely.
So, what would you say to someone who was considering working with me? Maybe someone stumbled across this online, seen this.
I would say absolutely just go for it because you'll never regret it. And you are the woman for the job because you're just so calm and non-judgmental and so knowledgeable. And I just feel like anyone that works with you is very lucky to be in your space. If there's any sort of hesitation around costs or anything like that, you have to think about the cost of staying where you are because that is massive. If the people that are drawn to you, there's already some kind of you're conscious of what's not working, the cost of staying where you are is massive, whereas where you could be is, completely different. So, yeah, I would have no hesitation in recommending you to someone who's thinking about working with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. And it's so
You're welcome.
powerful and so true. The cost of staying stuck
Mm,
versus the infinite possibility.
yeah, I think when you start working on yourself, the world is literally your oyster, isn't it? We hold ourselves back so much. And it is only us that is holding ourselves back, isn't it? In our minds and all these stories we tell ourselves. To have you to work through all of those things, you literally don't know the power of it. It can take you in so many different directions, like it's taken me in a completely different direction. I just feel like I'm exactly where I need to be now. So, yeah.
Wow, I just got a shiver when you said that. exactly where you need to be. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing.
And sorry, just another thing that's
No,
come to mind.
please.
So we come back to this idea of like being enough, didn't we? We had the statement of like I'm enough. And I came back to that every day. And
Mm,
I remember the moment when you sort of said that phrase, and I didn't believe it. I think it like I probably got obsessed about it. I definitely didn't believe it. That was the whole point. But like now I so believe it. Like I really believe it. I think it's not just saying it, like I genuinely feel in my heart of hearts that I am enough and more. So it's the shift of doing that work, the power of doing that work. And like, they're just thoughts and you can change them. So it's very powerful.
yeah, so powerful. What flickered through your mind then?
Just this idea of like being enough, really.
Thank you for sharing because it looked like your mind went somewhere for a moment. But it seems like you're reflecting on just the idea of being enough and actually how we change that. We've rewired your belief system from not believing that in the beginning to then
Absolutely, yeah.
fully wholeheartedly believing that now. And because you have that, the world is your oyster.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. And it's like if you do, it makes me a little bit sad thinking about the person that I was. Like, if I hadn't have done this, where would I have gone? That makes me a little bit sad. But like, I did do it, and
Mm,
that's like incredible. It just gives me a drive to like help more people get there and, step outside the comfort zones and stop living with these negative things that we tell ourselves because
mm,
it's so deliberating.
yeah, absolutely. And if you were going to give some advice to your former self, that self before you and I met, or perhaps someone who was like you and feeling the same way before,
Mm.
what words of wisdom would you give to them today?
I would say that you don't have to put up with those sort of thoughts. I think it's easy, isn't it, to think that this is just how we are. It's easy to think that this is just how we are and that's just life, but you can do something about it. You don't have to put up with the thoughts, the negativity, the overthinking, the lack of confidence. Like, there's so much power in changing it, and you can change it. You just have to take that leap. You have to trust yourself enough to sort of just do it and just start. And there's also no right time to start. Just start. Start now.
Yeah, so powerful and so important.
Yeah.
You're saying there, like, you don't have to put up with that. You can change, you can do something about it. And there's so much power in doing that. So just take the
Yeah.
leap, trust that you
Yeah.
need this, and
Absolutely.
start doing the work. Amazing. Thank you so, so much for sharing so openly. Is there anything else in the spirit of our work and reflecting on our connection that's in your head or in your heart that you wanted to say today?
I'm just so grateful for all the work that we did together. So grateful to you, and also so grateful to myself for going for it and trusting and investing the time and the energy and the money because, yeah, it's probably the best investment that I've ever made.
Wow, that is huge. And how powerful to say you're also so grateful to yourself. And I also hear and accept that you're grateful to me too, because like you know this, when somebody comes to work with me, I'm all in. And that's why it's so
Yeah, oh yeah,
important that we're aligned like we were, because you get like the whole of me.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I too am really grateful to you for trusting me, allowing me to be that guide on your journey and yeah, cheerlead you on, which I'm still
Yeah.
doing from afar.
That was another thing as well, I think, that I took from our work together, like celebrating ourselves. We just don't do that enough, do we? But you were always my like biggest cheerleader, and yeah, I've definitely learned to celebrate my wins. Because if you don't reflect on what you're doing, we just don't pay attention to it, do we? We just think of everything we're not doing. So yeah, that's so important.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.